Hey guys, it's Paradise, and one of the biggest and most requested topics to talk about across our Monster Hunter Worlds coverage has been the Insect Glaive, or as many lovingly call it, the Bug Stick. With Wilds changing and adding a lot of things to each weapon, people are rabid to learn about the Insect Glaive, how the moves have changed, if Aerial has gone or not, and how the weapon feels to play now. I will say, I did actually get to test the Insect Glaive myself firsthand at Gamescom, during one of the few times I got to play the demo on the show floor. Man, were those queues insane, and sadly you were not allowed to record there. We initially were not going to make a video about this weapon, given that we don't have any direct capture. But after all of your guys' requests to talk about the Insect Glaive, we reached out to Capcom to see if it would be possible to either record some Insect Glaive ourselves at the Capcom office, or have some footage of Insect Glaive gameplay. But unfortunately, we haven't been given access. However, as this has been such a highly requested topic, and we do have a lot of valuable information about the weapon, we're going to do this weapon breakdown in a slightly different way. Luckily, during our limited recording slot that we had at Gamescom on the very first day, which by the way, you may have seen our Longsword and Chargeblade gameplay from, we did manage to record the weapon notes for the Insect Glaive, so we can go over many of the moves for it. But we don't have any direct gameplay or capture to show outside of the weapon trailer and other Gamescom videos that are out there. But before we get into it, you should really see this, because Monster Hunter is such a beloved franchise, and to celebrate its 20th anniversary, MSI have come out with a bunch of limited edition Rathalos inspired products. So if you're a Monster Hunter fan and the series has given you tons of fun and enjoyment, you might want to pick it up to show support and love for Monster Hunter. The best way to experience Monster Hunter is definitely on PC for the higher frame rates and improved graphics. And if you don't want to deal with the hassle of building your own PC, this pre-built MSI Monster Hunter PC can get you right into the action, and it looks incredible too. But don't miss out on the 20th anniversary Monster Hunter themed controller, so you can represent your favorite game with all the modern goodness that you need to have the best gaming experience, with features like haptic feedback, dual vibration motors, and wired or wireless support. As massive Monster Hunter fans, we couldn't believe it when we saw these limited edition products. So if you want to pick it up too, click the link in the description down below. So guys, as we said, we're going to break this weapon down a little bit differently, and I've got 2-6 with me, as we both like to play all of the weapons, although for this one, we can't be as authoritative over everything because we don't have our own gameplay captured to go over and analyze. But shout out to RZen, who has an amazing doc with a ton of information in it to go through if you are interested in looking a little deeper. So 2-6, should we jump into things?
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to know like how it's changed. Obviously, we've skimmed through these a little bit and we have our own ideas, but I know that you played in the demo quite a bit with it and found it very different than it was before. So yeah,
that was the weird thing. The initial impressions was that a lot of things felt different, and you really had to utilize focus mode, which, given that we didn't get a ton of time to play because of all the queues and everything at Gamescom, it was hard to get to grips with all of the new, every new weapon, all of the new stuff, the iterations in focus mode, and which we'll go through here as well. I want to highlight that the actual weapon notes in the demo that we got to play didn't actually list everything that was new for that weapon. So for example, if you remember, I played the Chargeblade, the overcharged files weren't explained or showed or listed anywhere in the actual weapon notes, and it was kind of the same things with a few things on the switch axe as well. So I reckon there's probably more to each of the weapons that isn't even here in these notes, but they do give a really good understanding of some of the things that are different, especially when you look in the descriptions of these moves. So let's go through the moves.
Just one thing before we start, just for the housekeeping purposes as well. Capcom, this is 1 minute of gameplay. We're not taking X amount of time from our embargo. This is 1 minute of menu recording. We are stopping and starting, so don't hit us with your stick.
Yeah, we're super restricted on that 20 minutes. So this is, like you say, about 30 seconds to a minute of just going through the moves. So we're going to pause and play as we go through so we can actually look at them. But yeah, we should all be good there on that front. So we're kicking it off with the Rising / combo, which is your basic combo starter. You can see it says you press triangle to go into Rising /, then you can press again to do a double slash, and after doing a hit, you have that directional input as well. And you can go into Rising / combo or Reaping /. this is pretty standard and we haven't got to anything super exciting yet. But the next one has something exciting, right, 2-6? So I'll just skim over to it. So this one here, you want to tell us about this one? Because this has a focus mode integration.
Yeah, so this is your sweeping attack that you might be used to on the Insect Glaive, but this time with the focus mode, it actually recalls your Kinsect, so you've got more options to get that Kinsect back as well. And focus mode is definitely a modifier that adds to a lot of different weapons, so you guys better get used to it if you are going to be playing a lot of Wilds.
100%. It's so important, even for other weapons, but I think if you're an Insect Glaive main, it's going to be even more important. And it might touch on it, I think, a little later here as we go through. But focus mode is extra important because it's integrated with the way that your Kinsect functions on Insect Glaive. So it was, again, we had limited hands-on time. It felt really weird as you were playing it, but the gist of it is when you're in focus mode, your Kinsect like attacks with you and gathers extracts with you. And I think it explains that a bit more as we go through, but it is a very different way to play. But I always hated having to stand there and control the Kinsect for a minute just to get my extracts before going in on the monster. So hopefully that will alleviate that, where you can just straight up start more aggressive because it's attacking with you now. But if we go to the next move, we have the Harvest Extract, which commands your Kinsect to rush forwards, gather a boosted extract from part of the monster it hits, and it will basically go to... This is your standard thing. It's like, this isn't the exciting new stuff just yet, but we are getting there. And there's one new one that I really like, which is a charged attack. So if we go next to here, this is, again, this one isn't the new charged attack, but this one allows you to charge your Kinsect's attack and gather extracts from each part it passes through. So this is the first iteration of a charge attack that's like noteworthy. The next one requires you to basically have red extract, which we'll get to soon. But I believe this one's new, and it essentially allows you to do an attack with your Kinsect, and this is separate to the focus mode that also allows your Kinsect to attack with you. At least, I believe, from my impressions, from actually playing it a little bit, and obviously you can see here in the menus. And then we have the Kinsect Recall. This is standard, nothing new. This is just how you recall your Kinsect. But one thing I didn't get to test, I don't know if you saw this anywhere 2-6 as well, is this used to be a nice animation cancel to get rid of some end lag on the end of some of your combos. And I didn't really get to play around with that too much, so I'm not sure if that's still present, but I would expect it to be.
Yeah, hopefully it is in there and you can do that, because people were using that for their speed runs and to actually cut off a lot of time on their actual combos as well. And just in general, if there's going to be a lot of like charge related stuff, maybe this will be something that, if it does work with an animation cancel, is going to be definitely something that you're going to be weaving in a lot more. But we definitely did not get to test this in depth. I don't know if anyone's seen it or knows if it's still in there or not.
You know what, again, if we had it recorded, I'd probably be able to go back through and realize if it worked or not. But because we were testing out all the weapons, it's so hard to remember like specific nuances like that if you don't have it recorded. So I'm really hoping we can get some more recording and bring that to you guys. But obviously, we're trying our best out here. We'll see what we can do. But the next move we have is the Mark Target. This is your sort of attack version of marking it. So you have your ranged version and then you have your melee version. So Insect Glaive mains should be familiar with this one. It leaves a little dust effect where the Kinsect will go and attack the marked part. Again, there's not anything immediately new there. And then this is the long-ranged version of it, which is where you fire off the mark. So those, you know, the way that you control your Kinsect with the ranged aspect is back and is largely the same from my experience. Also, we didn't get to play around with different Kinsect types, at least when I had my hands-on time with it. So you just had the one Kinsect that was given to you. So we're not sure on all of the different types and how, if they're back, how different they are to each other. But traditionally, the Kinsect has had, or the Insect Glaive has had a lot of different Kinsects to play with, and they all function differently. Some of them doing like blunt or severing and the different dust types and all that kind of stuff, as you know.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things as well, because in Arsene's doc, he points out that on the actual kind of HUD or the menu for the Kinsects, it looks like it has a level tied to the Kinsect, so possibly that might mean the return of like leveling up and kind of all the stuff that you had to do back in the day for your Kinsect to get it like grow with you essentially.
Again, it's going to be so interesting when we can get a bit more time to look all that stuff in the full game, but the demo was obviously restricted, as all demos are. But I really want to talk about the Vault and the jumping attacks. So here you can see you've got the Vault, the jumping advancing slash, the jumping slash, and a mid-air evade. This has been a big topic of debate going around. I see a lot of people upset that the aerial may have disappeared. Now, I'm familiar with the way that aerial works in like World and Iceborne. I played a lot of Insect Glaive there. 2.6, you may remember Extreme Behemoth, and I would switch to Insect Glaive to break the tail, and then switch back because it was so easy to do because the Extreme Behemoth was so big. So I'm fairly familiar with the way that aerial works, and at least the way that it used to work, it doesn't work. So what I can say is that if you have all of your charge, all your essences, and you're doing your aerial circle attack, the helicopter attack, you don't bounce. I couldn't get it to bounce with any iteration of an aerial attack, but I will go back and say, just like with the overcharged files on Charge Blade, just like with the sort of confusing wording of zero-sum discharge in the weapon notes, not everything is there or explained super well in these notes, so I don't know if there's new permutations, new combos, or new button holds that are needed to bounce, but I can say I couldn't get it to bounce when I was doing my hands-on time, which was very limited. 2.6,
Yeah.
I don't think you've seen it out there either.
I haven't seen it out there, and I do think for Insect Glaives that mains that are into like aerial as well, don't give up hope that it's not in the game. It could come in the form of like a decoration or something, or an armor set that comes on later in the actual end game, or they could even just be holding it for whenever there's that inevitable expansion that they're going to introduce other things. So maybe it might skip this game, but for now, just these early previews, you don't necessarily see everything that the game has to offer as well. And we know, coming off of Rise and coming off of like World, there were like armor sets that completely changed like the playstyle for some things as well. So do not give up hope, because it could just be in there. It is something that was super excited to be like. I love bouncing around. It was one of the biggest selling points of the Insect Glaive, was just flying around like a little helicopter and having fun. So it is disappointing not necessarily seeing it right now, but we haven't had that 100% confirmed as well. And we all know one of the underlying truths of the Insect Glaive was one of the most powerful ways to play it was grounded. So if you wanted to get through a hunt, obviously it was like fun versus like that kind of meta discussion there. But if you wanted to have like that damage, being on the ground was probably the more preferable version of that, because of where you could like just dish out the damage as quickly as possible. But everybody wants to do the helicopter. I love it. Bring it back if it's not there.
Yeah, I'll just quickly expand on that. It's really interesting because it was always a grounded sort of combo to do if you wanted to be optimal with your like damage output on the Insect Glaive. So have they leaned into that, thinking that they can like tone down on the aerial stuff when people, it's like a fan favorite thing? But also in Rise, they almost leaned into the aerial aspect, where the more bounces you did in the air, and then you did that like the Wyvern dive or plunge attack would increase its damage. So it's really weird that they would lean into it in Rise and then take it potentially away in Wilds. But I am holding out hope that there is some kind of new combo or button hold or something like that that still does it. Like you say, it may be an armor set or a decoration or something. But again, I'll speak from my own testing, which is that I couldn't get it to bounce. But I'm holding out hope. I'm holding out hope out here.
Yeah, but even in Rise, you unlocked additional switch skills that we never saw completely before the game actually launched, and they have been hinting that there is more to the game that we haven't necessarily seen in like the interviews for stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And next we have the Focus Strike, which is actually pretty cool for Insect Glaive, because it does a very, like, we've seen it in the weapon preview, you like shoot the Kinsect forwards and it looks nice, but it actually, if you connect it with a wound, it gathers all of your extract colors, red, white, and orange, which can basically instantly put you into the like most powered up state you can be on Insect Glaive with all of the buffs, or just collect the ones that maybe you're missing. So there'll be different things that you can do that are going to optimize your play. So you could try and time doing the Focus Strike when your buffs run out, or you could try and get like red and white and then wait until that's about to run out, then do Focus Strike to refresh the timer with all 3 buffs. So there's different like strategies that could go into the actual Focus Strike, which is what I really like about the Insect Glaive's version of it, because it gives you those extracts on hit, which is pretty cool. But then the next move here is probably one of the most exciting ones, if not the most exciting thing that Insect Glaive got, which is this reworked circle attack when you hold it down while you have red extract, and if you have all 3 extracts, you can combo this into Rising Spiral Slash, which is one of the coolest moves that wasn't even in the weapon preview, which I find really crazy that they didn't showcase this, you know, for the weapon in that weapon video that they did for every weapon. But basically, it's a chargeable move when you have red extract. You hold it down, and then on release, you do Descending Slash, which is like this really cool looking multi-hit slashing combo. You do like a jump spin attack as well at one, like during the animation. And then after that ends, if you have all three, you do this powerful finisher called Rising Spiral Slash by holding down L2 and circle, which is a weird combo of buttons to hold for a combo finisher, but you do get used to it as you try it. I did it a few times and it did start to feel quite natural. And the thing about this is that it does say that it will end your enhanced state. What this means is it will completely remove all of your extracts when you do this finishing move. So it's a big commitment to do. So you might want to save it for when your extracts are about to run out. Or there may even be a really sweaty looping combo for this, because when you do this attack, your Kinsect attacks with you all around you and gathers extracts along the way. So, and also gathers up to 3 extracts when you do this move. There's a couple other moves as well that sort of upgrade your Kinsect from 2 to 3 extracts that we've seen, which is really cool, but this move is one of them. So my thought process is you could do this move, do the finisher, gather all 3 extracts if you position well on the monster, and then immediately do it again and sort of loop spamming Rising Spiral Slash if you can get all 3 extracts, which sounds kind of nuts, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a committal attack though when you are doing it, so just be warned that that's a thing. And it actually splits the UI up a little bit, showing the Kinsect can gather more extract after the actual enhanced state has ended as well. But it is probably the coolest looking new attack that the Insect Glaive has got. Obviously, it is... People have been saying that the damage doesn't look like that great on some of the Insect Glaive moves. It's just the base, like, demo, and the moves never look like that damaging. Even on the longsword, we're doing Hellbreakers that are doing like 8 per hit or whatever. So for this move, it will have to be like a wait and see what it really is like when we get those end game sets and we get those proper mix sets going as well. So it will be interesting to see how this all works out.
You're speaking truth there, but I'm also gonna go the other way and say they better not do Insect Glaive dirty. Like if this damage is anything reflective of what Insect Glaive will be in the full game, I will be disappointed. People will be disappointed. So I'm really hoping that this and 2.6 knows, guys. As content creators, these demos, these things that are at conventions, they're not the final version of the game. There's balancing changes that can happen, optimizing changes that can happen. So I really wouldn't put a lot of salt in this being like proof that the Insect Glaive is going to be a low damage weapon, but I would say I'm going to be paying attention to what it is in the final game, because Insect Glaive should be doing that damage, especially when you're having to work to gain all these extracts all the time, when then you have another weapon like Greatsword, which I love in Wilds, but you know, you just perfect guard, immediate like true charge slash nonsense. Like you don't have to bother with all the extract and the Kinsect control. So there needs to be a payoff, you know, which hopefully can be some good damage.
There's always the demo as well, and the Monster Hunter team always takes feedback from the demo and implements it like into the final game. Longsword always gets nerfed, bow always gets nerfed from like people playing in the demo, like, oh, it's too strong, and then those weapons get nerfed. So if you do find when they actually release whatever demo, because they always do for Monster Hunter games, then hopefully you can give your feedback then, and then it will get buffed up if you feel like it's not performing too well. But we're super far away from release.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's got to be some balance changes that will come in, so we reserve that for when the game comes out. But here we can see the weapon properties. So of course we have the Kinsect, which fights alongside us. Again, the biggest difference here is that it actually does fight alongside you in focus mode, which is really, really interesting. This is just like the boilerplate description. It can gather extracts, which we kind of like already know. You can see here, while aiming with L2 during focus mode, you have your Kinsect attack the monster and collect extracts with you, and the trajectory will also change in accordance with your attacks. And this is probably one of the biggest things that I think is going to impact like your minute-to-minute gameplay on the Insect Glaive, which is that you just want to... And this is the other thing. So before, you would always just go straight for red extract before you even bother attacking the monster, because it would power you up and change your actual combos, right? And give you the strong version. That's changed as well, which we're about to get to. But that meant that you wouldn't really need to get to grips with the base moveset, the non-strong version, without red extract. But what Kinsect combo here means is that before you even have red, you can go straight in on the monster and do your basic unbuffed attacks to gain the extracts in focus mode. So that means you might actually want to get used to the slight difference in timing of the non-strong version of your basic attacks, because you can gather them here with the focus mode. And we'll actually get to that. There's more to this because they've changed how you gain access to the strong version of your attacks as well, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, and I'm sure you feel a certain way about that as well, 2-6. Yeah. So let's get to the dust effects next, because this one's interesting, because you can actually see it basically shows that there'll be blast, poison, paralysis, and recover. Again, the dust effects aren't going to be surprising or new to like Insect Glaive players, but it's just cool to see that these types are listed here, so we can expect to see them, you know, in the full game. And now we're getting to the really interesting stuff, and 2-6, I'll let you talk about this, because there's a certain color here that we haven't seen in a little while.
Yeah, so obviously you have the different extracts that you can actually get, but we've also got green extract, which we haven't seen for a while, and it's actually coming back, and that's like your health one that can usually heal you up as well. But gathering all the extracts means that you're going to be able to like quickly get your buffs going, and in the next section it actually explains what these different buffs do, because they have actually completely changed around some of the orders. We're not getting, it seems like we're not getting air plugs anymore, we're getting like flinch free and a couple of other like differences on the next one once we move to it. But Paradise, you could talk about that a bit more in depth about what the actual changes are there.
So I'll just quickly say it lists green as being an extract there. I didn't gather a green in my playtesting. I don't I've looked through footage, maybe I need to look through even more, but I haven't seen green actually be extracted, but it is listed there. But I have seen the Kinsect heal the hunter on certain recalls, so I'm not entirely sure how this green works just yet. It's listed as being there. I haven't seen it myself. But the main thing to talk about, and the biggest takeaway for any Insect Glaive player, because this will impact your minute-to-minute gameplay and your full combo and the exact way that you go about doing any kind of attacks with Insect Glaive, is that you no longer have your stronger version of moves with red. So if you remember that charge move with circle that leads into the rising spiral slash, you gain access to that charged version of the circle when you have the red extract. So instead of having the strong version of your combos with red, now you have access to the charged circle attack, the descending slash, which is a really good move, by the way. But it means that you can't just grab red and go ham on the monster, because you won't have the strong version of your attacks. White will still give you increased movement speed and jump height, which is really good as before. Yeah, and then we still have the red plus white attack buff. Now, this is another thing that I'm confused about, and I wish I had the recording, or I wish I had, like, you know, a couple hours to test out Insect Glaive. Traditionally, red and white was around a 10% buff, and then having all three was around a 15% buff. But now having all three is how you get the strong attack, which you can see there, and we'll talk about in a sec. So you have the red and white attack buff, but that might be the only attack buff you have. It does say increases attack further, but I don't know if that's referring.
It says further, so I definitely think it was going to be a bit more on top of the red and white buff. So it will probably match up to the same ones that they had before.
I hope it's that all increasing percentage attack, which again for all of them was around 15. The white and orange is still the defense increase, but then the red, white, and orange all together is how you now gain access to the alternate version of your attacks, which is the strong version. So again, it's in this weird place where everyone's used to grabbing red and going ham, and now it's going to be grab red to do the charged attack, which is good. But if you want to go ham with the strong version and even go into rising spiral slash, which requires all three, then you're going to want all three. And I think I understand the thought process behind this a little bit, because there is a lot more ways to extract seamlessly on the monster through focus mode, through the attacks with you, and it following the trajectory of your attacks. So I think the idea is make it easier to get extracts, but make you need all three extracts to actually gain access to your advanced version of your moves. So it's a big it's a very big change that's going to be, I think, gonna like really like rattle Insect Glaive mains, because everyone is used to grabbing red and going ham, and that perhaps isn't the case unless the charged circle attack is like insane in terms of its DPS output, which you can't really test in the demo because the balancing isn't final.
It's going to be very interesting.
We do have the combos here as well. Now these are just, I'll just say that this is your boilerplate combo.
Bread and butter combos.
So you got your rising into leaping into double slash, and then you've got an overhead slam at the end. And we actually have the little video here for it as well, so you can see it in action a little bit if you want to. But Again, that's just like a boilerplate combo. The next one is where it gets slightly more interesting, because the wording doesn't necessarily match the video that we see here. So it says a combo places a mark and orders your Kinsect to leave a powder effect there, which again, Insect Glaive mains will know. Then you would do a quick evade backwards before the powder explodes. But what we actually see is jumping into the powder to explode it, which we'll see here in the little video. So it's a mark, a little evade back into an attack to pop the powder. So I'm not too sure about the discrepancy with the description there, but you know, it is what it is. And then we have a very good example of an aerial vault into an attack that doesn't bounce. So here we have the vault into a mid-air evade and a jumping advancing slash. And 2-6, you notice this. You can actually do 2 mid-air evades now, right?
Yeah, that's huge. So obviously that is something that they've kept in terms of like the aerial part of Insect Glaive, but it's huge, but also disappointing at the same time. It's like, why did you keep that, but not the spinning stuff? That was fun. So we'll have to see.
It makes me think that it's in there. We just haven't, like, no one's figured it out, or it was disabled in the demo for some reason. Because it's really weird to have two aerial evades but no bounce, unless they've added it to compensate. But it's not the same, so you know it's a bit of an odd one all around. But here we have the coolest thing that I love about it. Yeah, exactly. This is the rising spiral slash like finisher, and I'll just let the video play because you can see you go in with the leaping slash, tornado slash, strong descending slash with the charge, and then finishing with the rising spiral, which just looks so cool with that Kinsect flying all over the place. Again, consumes all your essence, but gathers essence as you do it. So if you can hit all body parts on the monster, you can get all 3 colors and just loop into that again. So
yeah,
there's some very cool stuff. I love the rising spiral slash. I just love the way it plays with the focus strike and the more seamless extract gathering and having the Kinsect attack. I don't even think that assist type is necessarily in the game if the focus mode like attacks where it attacks with you. Right? Yeah. So they've like integrated assist type Kinsects into your like actual moveset, which is really, really cool. But then we have this unknown of, is aerial completely gone? Because there's definitely the aerial attacks, but they don't seem to function the same. But is there different button presses or holds that just aren't explained here in the menus? Who knows, right?
Yeah, I think people just need to remain a bit open-minded. I know it's like quite easy to see this stuff initially and it'll be like, no, it's over for us. This is the end of Insect Glaive. But what they've done to actual grounded gameplay is like clean it up a little bit. They've changed a few things around that seem like they have seen that it's very powerful at endgame essentially and balanced it that way. So that's where I'm coming from. It looks like maybe the nerfs are there initially because it's super strong towards the end of the game. So yeah,
we'll just have to wait and see. I think, you know, we like I said at the beginning of the video, we've asked Capcom to try and test this a bit more ourselves. We'll probably keep pestering over time. Maybe we'll get lucky at some point, but we're out here trying, guys. We're trying to get that information.
Yeah, we're trying our best.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we're going to have more Monster Hunter videos coming soon. There's lots of exciting stuff still to talk about, so make sure you're subscribed down below. Comment what you think about all of this, and we're going to have more videos on your favorite games coming very, very soon.
Bye.